Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. And again, we're going to jump right to the phones. We've got Congressman Arrington on line one. Congressman, how are things?
Oh, that's a big question. Oh, wow. We hadn't talked in a month of Sundays.
That's
and you
been a
asked
little
me,
while.
how are things? Look, I'm honored and profoundly grateful and excited as I could be to continue to be the voice for West Texas and my fellow citizens in this district and in Lubbock, in our nation's capital, fighting for our freedom and for the future of our country. So first of all, to your listeners, my voters, thank you for the tremendous privilege of serving you.
Hey,
yeah,
Congressman. We were talking this morning at length about. I've never in my lifetime, and I've lived a lot of years, have seen a situation like we have right now, where so much damage has been done to the. Well, let's say that the Democrats don't seem to have a mandate, and of course we got Joe Biden, who is just there like in name only, it seems. I just want you to look in your crystal ball, if you will, and just evaluate what can we expect with this situation as it is, and so much division over the next 4 years.
Well, first of all, the democratic process and the rule of law would suggest that the election is far from over and needs to conclude after all the allegations have been further examined and work their way through the court and work that process out. I can't believe we're short-circuiting that. No matter what the outcome is, we undermine our democratic republic, our constitutional democracy, when we don't let it play out. And we can't let the media, first of all, we can't let the media be the decider and the declaring voice of who became president. In Gore Bush, we had 37 days. We're not even 10 days into it. So no matter what the outcome is, our country will not move forward with confidence in the integrity of this election. And we cannot solve the problems that we face and work together, unite, or whatever, if we don't settle this and verify the outcome. And that's a process. It's part of our democracy. We ought to celebrate that. So that's first, Dave. But look, there's the mandate. The message is to the Democrats, the referendum on obstruction has been settled. The American people punished Pelosi and the Democrats for their obstructionist posture for the last 4 years, and the referendum on socialist leftist policies has also been meted out in this election, and we have now 8, could be 12 new Republicans where we flip Democrat seats. And by the way, they're all female or minority. So we've got a very diverse set of leaders in this new crop, and they in droves have been coming to the Republican side and to our traditional American values and constitutional principles.
Yeah, and Congressman, as far as that's concerned, I feel like that the Republicans are now actively going after, because of Donald Trump, they're actively going after these minorities, and because of that, you're seeing minorities willing to stand up and run for office that have the views of the Republicans, and I think that can only be good for the Republicans moving forward.
Well, it is, because our party needs to look like America, and it helps us sell those time-honored principles and timeless values that made this country great. And listen, the Hispanic community in particular, in Florida, for example, where we got Carlos Jimenez, the mayor of Miami, and Maria Salazar, the folks from Cuba and other countries in Latin America, for example, they know very well firsthand what socialism does to a nation and to its people, and they don't want any part of it. They don't want any part of it. So I think they rejected identity politics. These folks want to unite with America. They want to be one America with one values and one constitution and flag that they stand and pledge allegiance to. They want to be proud of their country. And so I think they've rejected the left's identity politics and their socialist ideology wholesale. And this is good. for the party of freedom, opportunity, and security. And I think the momentum is ours going into this session and into 2022, where I think we'll get the House back.
Well, Congressman, let me kind of ask you a follow-up on this, because there's something I just simply do not understand. Maybe I just have a misunderstanding of the situation, but as I understand it, AOC is a very much a minority in the House, but yet she seems to wield all this power. For goodness sake, what do I not understand? Why doesn't leadership tell her to go sit in the back of the room and be quiet?
The same reason the Democrat mayors and city leaders in Seattle and Portland don't stop the mob from running over their citizens. They're afraid. It's fear and intimidation. I mean, listen to what they're saying. Go ahead.
What are they afraid of?
Oh, they're afraid of the shaming that they'll get. They're afraid of the mobs that show up at their town halls. I'm just telling you, they are the tail that's wagging the dog. They are the minority, and they are the extreme part of the party. You're seeing a civil war going on within the Democrat Party right now. So you said, look into the crystal ball. One of the things I see is the Democrat Party actually collapsing because Pelosi will continue to give too much credence and too much influence to that minority squad, the left, and their radical policies that really hurt folks like our neighbor in eastern New Mexico, who was a Democrat. Now it's going to be a Republican. Southwestern Oklahoma, Kendra Horn, she's a Democrat. She's gone because the Green New Deal was a disaster. Banning fracking is the most ridiculous fanatical policy, along with defunding police and open borders. So, I think that you're going to see the Democrats begin to implode as we gain momentum, and it's because they're letting the tail wag the dog.
So, Congressman, do you think that Nancy Pelosi is going to be able to keep the Speaker of the House?
You know, that's a tough one. I mean, I didn't think she would be able to, but if she does, I think she's going to be. It's only going to help us get the House back as Republicans.
I agree.
Unfortunately, though, I think it's going to be harder to govern. And if there is a mandate from the American people, they don't want extreme policies. They want us to work together, solve problems, move our country forward. That hasn't happened. Obviously, you can't pick one major thing that's been accomplished in the House because Pelosi's been so hyper-partisan and so obstructionist. But that has been rejected by the people. I don't know if she's picked that up, but her Democratic colleagues certainly have.
So, Congressman, one of the things I don't know what it is that y'all could do since most of this is done at the state level, but it seems obvious to me that there's at least some voter fraud. Is it enough to overturn the election? I don't know, and I don't know what the courts are going to do at this point. But it seems to me that Donald Trump, as well as other people, have confirmed that something was going on that we weren't able to see. Is there a way that the Democrats and Republicans could work together to make sure that there's not even a hint of visualization of voter fraud potentially going on? I mean, it makes the United States look bad just having the hint being going on out there.
Well, when you relax the voter laws in these states, like we did because of COVID, we just opened it up for fraud and corruption and human error. And that was our warning, repeatedly, and the president's as well. So now we've compromised the integrity, at least the perception, and the public's confidence. So I would like to think we could come back and never have this scenario again. But I want to remind your listeners and you all that Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat-led House of Representatives' first bill, their first priority, H.R. 1, was basically to codify the election laws that you're seeing in Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, and other places. They want to federalize election laws, take them away from the state, and basically make it all look like California, where you have universal mail-in, ballot harvesting. It's a racket, and if that ever happened, I don't know that we'd ever have a Republican president, because it's a system that is fraught with corruption, and it's fraught with being able to be gamed. and fraud, and it would be a disaster.
We're speaking with Congressman Arrington, and we're going to take a quick break on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We are speaking with Congressman Arrington. Congressman Arrington, one of the things that has been, I guess, recently, I guess it happened overnight last night, is that we had Dr. Michael Osterholm, one of the advisors for Joe Biden, said that he thought that we should shut down the country for 4 to 6 weeks for the coronavirus. What would that do to the U.S. economy?
It would unleash hell on the American people, our children, our families, because of the economic disaster and the long-term public health implications. I'm talking about addictions and suicide and deferred medical consults, screenings, treatments. It is the dumbest thing I have heard, single dumbest thing, since the Democrats said that the president was xenophobic and that we shouldn't ban travel or restrict it from China after the Wuhan virus. Give me a break. This is so dangerous. But and by the way, that professor probably won't lose pay or his job if they were to shut the economy down, even any more than Dr. Fauci would.
Right.
These folks live in a fantasy world, in a bubble, in a world of theory in academia, and the impact to everyday working Americans would be disastrous. I hope he has got a healthy 6 feet of social distancing from any decisions that are being made in the Oval Office in the future.
Well, at the same time, he said that we could just pay everybody for the time they were off. We're already, what I think Dave was talking about it earlier, $27 trillion in debt. What would that do to our debt if we just, we'll shut it down, but we're going to pay everybody to do it?
Well, this is a sneak preview of what would happen in a Biden administration. And, yeah, they just said, let's shut it all down, and we'll just keep borrowing from China. We'll just keep writing checks. I mean, they don't understand that this gravy train of borrowing on the backs of our children doesn't go on forever. And, in fact, that's the next big crisis. And you can't you can try to act like we've got all the money in the world and an infinite supply of borrowing, but that's not the case. We could end up like Greece or Puerto Rico if we're not responsible. This guy, again, is delusional and disconnected from reality. But that's going to be the new normal if we have a President Biden, because that's the way these folks think.
Congressman, I wonder, it's kind of changing the directions here. Do you think that there is any possibility in the horizon of getting some kind of a change in the election laws where we don't have this nightmare anymore, or something like voter ID?
Well, I think that what we need to do, first of all, as I said, H.R. 1, the Democrats are already pushing to federalize it and to make it look like it is today
that's
forever.
Frightening.
So it is frightening. But so the way to do it, Dave, is to prevent the federal government. A lot of the things that I do in Washington on behalf of the values of West Texas is preventing bad things from happening because Congress acted. And so the states have to maintain that, and the states ought to have these voter ID laws and other standards that protect the integrity of the election. So my job is keep the Washington politicians out of the state's business. And I think now with the new courts and with the new Supreme Court, I think we will have challenges to the lax rules being in the favor of tightening them up because of constitutionalist conservatives like Amy Coney Barrett.
So, Congressman, we got about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. What's your priority going to be for the next year, maybe 2 years, in the upcoming session?
Well, first of all, I'll fight socialism tooth and nail from this point going forward until every American wakes up to the nightmare that would be Venezuela or Cuba for this country. But I think the American people rejected that. That's the good news in this election. I'm going to work to make for sustainable rural health care. I'm going to work on highway bills so we can get our ag and energy product throughout the country safely and efficiently. I'm going to work on the next farm bill. I'm going to work on more fair and stronger trade deals for American workers, manufacturers, farmers, and ranchers. So there's plenty to do. But I'm also going to stay focused on the debt. I think that's the biggest long-term threat to the country. I started a bipartisan caucus to deal with that. We're going to continue to build on that.
Yeah, it gets scarier every day, that debt. All right, Congressman, we want to thank you for coming out and calling in and telling us what's going on there in Washington. We hope to speak to you again soon. Hopefully, it's all good news. But
yeah, well, it's good to be with you. God bless.
All right, thanks.
Great to be with you.
All right, that's the end of the show. We'll have Chad Hasty on next. We'll talk to you again tomorrow on News Talk 95.1 FM, 790 AM KFYO mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin.